Good morning, Bande Matram. Welcome all of you. The topic of this morning's discussion will be on towards perfect wisdom. Towards perfect wisdom, that is the topic of discussion for right now. It is a very interesting topic. We have chosen almost from thoughts and aphorisms by Sri Aurobindo. So, before going to the topic, we must know what is really the wisdom and how it really works. Most of the time, we get confused with the term knowledge and wisdom. We take something like in an equal way, in the same manner. We think it is something like same, but here in the quotes it before quoting the Sri window, it is right the thing to know to distinguish between the terms knowledge and wisdom. That is actually very interesting way. We'll see and we'll feel it in that way. Sri Aurobindo quotes beautifully that knowledge relates to the struggle, tussle of the human mind. It relates to mind and the wisdom. So far, this wisdom is concerned, it is entirely the problem related to the soul. We can see everything in the sight of the spirit or in the soul's vision. What we see really, that is actually wisdom, but knowledge, it is the distorted picture, distorted problem of the struggling human mind. So here Sri Aurobindo quotes beautifully towards perfect wisdom. When we have discussed Sri Aurobindo quotes here, the words of the supreme wisdom are expressive only to those who are already the wise. So wisdom is required. With the wisdom, that is only something can be wise, or with the knowledge, it is a distortion. Only the egocentric idea that we are wise. But wise, if somebody feels he is wise, he must be related to the wisdom that he must possess. Without wisdom, he can't be wise. And this wisdom factor comes only something that is seen in the sight of the spirit or in the soul's vision. So here in the quotes here, the word of the supreme wisdom is expressive only to those who are already the wise, who are already the wise. And more of the when we have chosen the topic, the towards perfect wisdom, that is Sri Aurobindo has quoted in his aphorism number 484, love of God, charity towards men. Two things Sri Aurobindo quotes in simultaneous way, in the same manner, in at the same point. Love of God and charity towards men, that is the first step towards perfect wisdom. Towards the first step towards perfect wisdom, it starts with two concepts. Number one is love of God. Actually, love of God is truth, and the love of truth is divine. So this love of God and charity towards men, these are the two steps, the two things which actually carries you, which are required for, and which is the indispensable first step towards perfection. Against your in the quotes here, the wise are not always or wholly wise. They feel, because it is a relative term. The wise, how can you know? How can you define the wise? That is a very, in simple terms, very interestingly it is described. The highest and widest thing is the wisest. Highest is a relative term, and widest is also a relative term, because somebody has crossed, suppose something like a billion steps towards the zenith, and of course in the way width it is something around a trillion step. Do you imagine it is the final after a billion step towards the zenith? Do you think there is no steps to be or taken to be moved, to carried forward, to move forward? Still there is, it is not the highest height. And in the breadth also, after that moving a trillion steps, of course this trillion steps, it is very big term comparing to those people who has crossed very limited steps or not at all. So but actually after trillion, who wants to cross, there are also steps. So highest and widest thing is the wisest. It is also a relative term here in the course here. The wise are not always or wholly wise. It is there. Sometimes we take, and most of the time, of course, we take them wise, but it is not wholly wise. Here in the quotes again. uh, while describing the wisdom, the highest and the widest thing is the wisest. That's what we quoted right now. Again, even the profoundest and the surest political instinct is not wisdom. Sri Aurobindo has quoted with the superlative term. Two great letters have been used with the superlative term. Even the profoundest, profoundest, surer, and surest. Even the profoundest and surest political instinct is not wisdom. It lacks. It has got its pitfalls. There is still something is required. Anyway, we are going for aphorism. We are going to discuss something on aphorism. That is be a good term. Love of God, charity towards men. That is the first step towards perfect wisdom, not the last step. It is only the first step. It is the beginning. It is just the base. Many ways you have to be lifted up. You have to get elevated. You have to move on. Second, he who condemns failure and imperfection. Very interesting. Most of the time we condemn. So when we fail, we see, we behold the failure, we find the imperfection. So just imagine we condemn them. That is not wise. He who condemns failure and imperfection is condemning God. You know, God, the presence of God, the very presence of God is also very prominent in failure and also imperfection. So he who condemns failure and imperfection is condemning God, because he does not know what really God and where he is, what about the meaning of imperfection and of course failure. So he who condemns failure and imperfection is condemning God. So far he limits his own soul and cheats his own vision, because he already, I have told you, it is discussed, because he does not know what really God is and what about his presence, because it can be realized, it can be beheld by only the vision of the soul. So when he is condemning failure and imperfection, if somebody is doing so, most of the time people keep doing that way, is condemning God. Then what happens, what really he is doing, what is his steps, what is his output? He limits his own soul. He limits his own soul and cheats his own vision. Limits his own soul, because soul can't see the very much the furthest end what is happening there, and of course cheats his own vision. Condemn not. So we have to, what we really we have to do, what is our option, and what option is left before us. Condemn not, but observe nature. That's what you do. Never condemn. You just observe nature. Help and heal thy brothers. Help and heal thy brothers, and strengthen by sympathy their capacities and their courage. They have got the capacity. They have the courage. Try to encourage them. Try to uplift them. Try to enhance their abilities and capacities instead of condemning them. When you see something failure and you condemn the failure and imperfection, it is likely you are condemning God, because God's very presence you can find in them, even in failure, even under imperfection. So that time it is very much clear that your soul is limited and you are cheating your vision. Never condemn, rather strengthen then, but observe nature. First step. Second, help and heal thy brothers. Help and heal thy brothers, and strengthen thy sympathy by their capacities and courage. Again, Sri Aurobindo moves forward another aphorism. 486. Love of man, love of woman, love of things, love of neighbor, love of country, love of animal, and love of humanity. Many ways, from near to far. Love of man, number one. Love of woman, number two. Love of things, number three. Love of neighbors, number four. Five, love of the country. Six, love of animals. Then of course number at the very presence it is coming under number seven is love of humanity at large, are all the love of God. Entirely whatever you see, all belongs to the love of God. In a very great set, these are the only subsets or elements, so reflected in these living images. So love and grow mighty to enjoy all. So what we have to do, you have to love and grow mighty, not to be very much narrowed, not to, you have to expand your vision, you have to go beyond. So love and grow mighty to enjoy all, to help all, and to love forever, not only for a limited period of time, but actually you have to love forever. That is what the requirement and you have to do, and everything can be done with the expansion of your vision. You have to grow up, you have to expand yourself. Again, very interesting one. I will try to quote it again. Seven things in the quoted, and all are belonging to the love of God. Anyway, love of man, love of woman, love of things, love of neighbor, then love of the country, thy country, love of animal. Not only this human beings here in the quotes, it is also love of animals and love of humanity. Are all the love of God reflected in those living images. All these are living images on them, on the entire seven. Just imagine like they are arranged like a rainbow color, entire seven colors of the rainbow. So the love of God reflected in these living images. So what we have to do, we can't restrict ourselves, we can't just put ourselves in a very small corner. So we have to, what we have to do, so love and grow mighty, love and grow mighty, to enjoy all, second to help all, third to love forever. So that is what the requirement, and Sri Aurobindo explains in his great aphorism. It is on 486. Then we are moving forward. So just somebody went and asked the mother, we are in love. One boy and girl, they went and met mother and expressed their actually their own. They felt that mother will put a seal on their love. So what you have done? We love each other. Then mother remains silent, goes into trance and scales and speaks up. Then you try to widen your love, make it universal, so that among with your individual narrow love, it will be expanded like anything. Again, 400. That's what here in the quoted here. Love and grow mighty, to enjoy all, to help all, and to love forever. So next one is actually 487. We are going and quoting. If there are things that absolutely refuse to be transformed, some things are there. They don't want to be transformed. They resist. They actually deny. So what in that case you have to do? If there are things that absolutely refuse to be transformed, absolutely refuse to be transformed or remedied into God's more perfect image, they refuse to be transformed, number one, or if even if not remedied into God's more perfect image, then they may be destroyed with a tenderness of the in the heart. There is no other go, must be destroyed. They are destined to be destroyed. The point to be noted in a very open ear, you must know some things are there, they don't want to be transformed, or even though they deny to be transformed, absolutely refuse to be transformed, or remedied into God's more perfect image. So what about their future? They are destroyed with a tenderness in the heart, but restlessness in the smiting. Anyway, by number one, the process destroyed with a tenderness in the heart, first one, or by wrathfulness in the smiting, but make sure first that God has given thee the sword and thy mission. So it is there in your hand, ball is in your court. God has given you given thee the sword and the mission. You have to pick, you have to choose what really you have to do. So Sri Aurobindo quotes again, it is very much important. You must listen everything in the very much opened eyes and see here with the very crystal clear eyes opening and being very sensitive, very conscious. You must know, you must see, you must hear that if here in the quote starts, if there are things absolutely refuse to be transformed, absolutely refuse, they don't want to be transformed, they have decided, it is 100% dead earnest that they refuse to be transformed or remedied into God's more perfect image. More perfect image, they don't want to go, so their future is they must be destroyed. And this destroyed with the tenderness in the heart in the first condition, or even if it is not, then still heart view is there, but ruthless in the smiting. ruthless in the smiting. They have to go. There is no other go. They must go. They must be transformed. They must be remade into the image of the God. They refuse sternly, and they will be simply thrown out. Simply they will be crossed. So what you have to do, but make sure everything is sure. The road is shown to you in a very crystal clear way. So make sure that God has given thee the sword and thy mission. Sword is also given by God to thee, and the mission is also there, that with the seal, heavenly seal, you have come to fulfill. Everything is choice is imperative. Main countries, continents, choice is imperative. Truth or abyss. You have to choose the extreme points, truth or the extreme lowest condition, that is abyss. But there is nothing in between that you have to hang on. So you have to move on. You have to be collaborate. You have to collaborate the nature. You have to fix up your goal. You have to move. There is no other way. Suppose you want to stand on the middle of the way, naturally things will come. They will kick you like anything. Simply you will be crossed, or you will lose your life. Better now think and you act accordingly. Bande Matram.